Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. There's a lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you. I know that life outside is
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. We're going to be talking about new technology, and in particular, drones. But before we do, there's a very important message I have to put out there. Please pray for the galloping granny, Mavis Hutchinson, who is not well. She has a special place in our community after her inspiring words to Jason Bartlett earlier this year. I've contacted Jason, who will be recording a message specially for Mavis in these difficult times. Now, let's get on to our subject for tonight, drones. Strictly speaking, a drone is an unmanned aircraft that can fly autonomously, that is, without a human in control. But even that seemingly simple definition quickly runs up against the nuances of how contemporary unmanned aircraft are flown. Let's have a look at a short video of some small and big drones. Here we go.
Drones are a hot item in the world of tech, mostly for things like monitoring power lines or creating show-stopping real estate listings. Home security could bring the technology to average homeowners too, when costs come down. Here's how Sunflower Labs technology works. First come the sunflowers, yard lights that actually are bristling with sensors. A vibration detector can tell the difference between footfalls and car traffic, and motion sensors can tell I'm a human, not a deer or a dog. If Sunflower Labs' computer thinks I could be trouble, it'll send a phone alert. The homeowner can push a button to automatically launch the drone to take a look. In this case, you can see me snooping around the backyard. The drone isn't too loud when you're indoors, but take it from me, somebody skulking around the property is going to notice when the drone zooms up.
The burglar will know that they've been noticed.
Hovering among the trees at peak foliage in this Massachusetts town is an unfamiliar object, a high-powered commercial drone.
So what you're seeing here is our park system. And what the park is it's Persistence Aerial Reconnaissance and Communications Platform.
These drones aren't moving much. In fact, if you look closely, you'll see that they're tethered to the ground. That's because they're designed for surveillance and communication.
the tether allows us to do a couple of things. It allows us to keep the bird in the air indefinitely. It's powering the system. It's also allowing us to move data up and down the tether.
Lance Vandenbroek is CEO of Sci-Fi Works, which makes these drones, which can fly at 400 feet for up to 220 hours. Sci-Fi is partnering with state police, the U.S. Army, and big events such as concerts and marathons.
The missiles, but Officer Matt says he has only ever flown reconnaissance missions. Officially, only 3% of drone flights by the US Air Force are combat operations. But both the Reaper and the Predator come fully equipped, just in case.
This is your AGM-114 missile. It's a Hellfire, the same missile that's used on our Apache helicopters. It's used for anti-armor, anti-personnel, and we have a variant for buildings as well.
Okay, there you go. That gives you an idea of what drones are capable of doing. Quite extraordinary. Tonight we're meeting Lionel Engels, who believes he has some answers for people in South Africa concerned about their security. And as you've just seen, what drones can do today is quite extraordinary. The drones have a multitude of functions, and safety and security is just one, albeit the most vital one at this stage of the game. Let me get the expert, Lionel Engels, on. Hi, Lionel.
How are you, Scott?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. I can't
Great.
see you at this stage. We just got your little icon. Oh, there you go. Now I see you. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now, I have to share with you a little secret. I actually had a very brief contact with a drone several years ago when someone gave me one for Christmas. It was a cheap plastic one. And after an hour of fruitlessly trying to fly the damn thing, I gave up. Obviously, the drones we're talking about tonight are a different kettle of fish. So, let's get started. First of all, would you like to introduce yourself to our guests, Lionel? We got about 250 people, no, about 300 people watching at the moment.
Hi, Mark and guests. My name is Lionel Engels. I'm from the Jats Group based in South Africa. We basically specialize in drones and associated technology to look how best we can safeguard farmers, people, infrastructure, and so forth. It all goes about bringing technology and drone technology together with various sensors on the ground and integrating all the solutions into one big basket to offer the client the ultimate security package.
Great. So, tell us the types of drones that you use.
Mark, we essentially use hexacopters. We use the unique H520, which is a drone specifically made for the policing fraternity. There's been lots of success with the unique H520 in the US. The Coast Guard uses them. A lot of the police agencies use them. European police agencies use them. They come fitted with a dual sensor, which is optical and thermal. And then we move to the bigger drones, which will be the VTOL drones, fixed wing, vertical takeoff and landing. They normally do between 2.5 hours and, well, up to 14 hours, depending on the configuration you do on them. And yes, they are used literally for long range reconnaissance, border patrolling, perimeter patrolling, and we can also relay communications via them to the smaller drones.
Okay, now with these bigger drones or even the smaller drones, can you, like the harvesters at farm lands which have got GPS now and they just go up and down without a driver, can you put in GPS coordinates so your drone follows like a farm fence line and just goes around that loop?
Sure. What we do is you literally plan the entire mission according to waypoints to patrol the perimeter or patrol sensitive parts of your property. If we go with, let's say, a 10 farm complex, you can do the perimeter and then bring it back over one farm instead to patrol the area there, give you high-res pictures from there, what's happening there. real-time events, and then move back to the perimeter patrol. There's always, look, the biggest thing is there's always a pilot or someone responsible sitting ready to basically take control should anything happen during this autonomous mission per se.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you got someone in like a control room where they're actually watching what the drone is doing and what it's seeing.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Now, tell us about the uses for these drones, and specifically the ones that you're suggesting for farmers and communities.
Well, firstly, the reaction drone, the hexacopter, can be used one for reaction because normally it's quicker for the drone to fly line of sight, crisscrossing farm fence lines and so forth, which vehicles can't do. You've got the benefit of the optical camera for high-res pictures in daytime, and also gives you full color ground pictures if there's ambient lighting on the ground at night. Then you've got the thermal capability of the drone, but she can also be equipped with a cargo slinging capacity where you could drop a radio, you could drop a first aid kit, you could do a small cargo drop, or you could actually fit a loud hailer to the drone with lighting that you could use the drone as a deterrent per se. If farm attackers were moving toward a farm, and you basically have a drone with lights flashing and a siren going, you'll have a deterrent straight away, because the first thing that they'll wonder is how did this happen? No, we were here so quickly.
Now, you mentioned the thermal side, which is obviously picking up heat at night. Now, Rudy's actually posted a few questions here, which we might as well discuss, because we're talking about this specific issue. And Rudy said, where is it? About something about drones may only be here we are. Drones may only be flown in daylight in South Africa. Is that true?
If you are a private drone owner, yes, you are. And legislation stipulates you can't fly higher than 400 foot. It's daytime ops only. You aren't allowed to operate within 5 kilometers of a manned aerodrome. There are various rules. Line of sight, you can only fly up to 5.5 kilometers. Now that's regulation, but you and I both know that the human eye cannot see 5.5 kilometers. So some of the regulations, Scott, are friendly. Some are friends, some are foe. What we do normally is we operate under a ROC, a remote operations certification. Whereas if we move into an area where we deploy the drones for the farmers and help them, those drones are registered under the ROC, number one. Even though they are the farmer's drone, they actually work under the ROC. Now the ROC comes with various ratings. Beyond visual line of sight rating, night rating, your altitude rating can be pushed up from 400 foot to 1,000 foot to 2,000 foot if required. For example, with the use of the VTOL. So what the ROC does is aircraft is registered, and then we go to civil aviation with a set rules and guidelines of the ROC. The ROC will then apply for a night rating. It'll apply for a altitude rating. It'll apply for a bad weather. The ROC also allows you to land on a public road, which you aren't allowed to do with a private drone. And ROC allows you to overfly a crowd, which a public person cannot do. So we literally go to a complex and we see how best we can help them under a blanket of service. And so, okay, bring it into this ROC and let's work with your drone.
You just said about flying over crowds. It's just put my idea of having a drone and covering protests to bed. Because I guess they have the same laws in Australia. Now, I'm just going to quickly address the side chat. We've got about 350 people watching at the moment. If you have questions for Lionel, please just drop.
Having a closed communication system where your drone does not transmit what you are physically seeing or doing to anyone else. Unique has got a unique system basically where your drone only communicates to the handheld controller or to a third-party control room. The controls, telemetry, everything is done from the handheld. It's a closed circuit communication. We are not flying on Wi-Fi we're flying on dedicated frequencies. Normally, we'll fly on 2.4 gigahertz or, for line of sight, or we'll fly on 5 or 5.5 or 5.8 gigahertz. The higher your bandwidth, the more line of sight you are dependent. If you go with 2.4, you normally get tree penetration and so forth, which gives you a longer range. Sometimes with slightly hampered video, but other than that, the comms is fine.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is that the brand that you've chosen is ideal for the farm situation as a protection device.
Perfect. Yes.
Right. Okay. Now, just as a matter of interest, how many of these units have you actually got out there in South Africa at the moment, actually patrolling?
What we did, Scott, is we started marketing them the end of last year, and then the beginning of this year, we were involved in doing drone demos for cattle theft and farm theft and farm attacks in the entire Lowveld area. And well, as Murphy's Law would actually work, as soon as we were moving over to go and fly a demonstration for purchase, COVID hit us.
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
Since then, we've literally been grounded in aviation terms. But now with the impending level 1, we are then allowed to freely travel and go and continue with the demonstrations, and then basically from then on we'll be rolling out.
Okay.
What we have done in the meantime is we have joined hands, for use of a word, with King Price, one of our national insurers, as a stock theft solution where we use animal-borne sensors to actually trigger the drone to take off and fly to an area where cattle might have moved out of a geofence, or might be resting too long, or might be under stress. The drone will then take off autonomously and go to the area where there is trouble and go and work with them there and give you the real-time intel you require. Explain
to us how that works.
The stock will normally wear a collar when it's cattle,
right,
or your big stock, and then with your sheep, it'll normally be an ear tag. Now, these tags or collars are programmed, and they are registered on a base station, and they are geofenced per area. So if you have 100 head of cattle in a certain area and they stay there, they'll be geofenced. So as soon as one of the cattle actually breaks the geofence for one, it sends an alarm to the base station, which then triggers the drone. If there's any stress with the animal, cattle can run a certain speed when they normally move, but when they're stressed, they'll run XYZ speed, and then obviously when they move to the fastest speed, being in distress again, the collar will then send alarm activation to the base station that triggers the drone to then fly to the point of stress.
Can I just interrupt for a second? That geofence, I guess that's like a geographic area around where they're grazing. So if they go outside that area, that's what triggers the drone to go and check. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Carry on. So basically, what you're saying is that if you've got a herd of cattle, which are very valuable, this drone will act like a shepherd, or like a security shepherd.
That's it. The drone. We quite often term the drone the policeman in the sky, because what the drone will do is the drone will actually send you what's happening on the ground, and it'll be and it's quite interesting when you actually move. I will send you some footage that we've got where we did demonstration flights in Carltonville on different color palettes on thermal. You can actually see how active the cattle are at night on those clips, but it's a thing for us in this stage, because especially our farmers are being hammered with stock theft.
Yeah,
the Southern Free State and Mpumalanga are being hit very hard.
Yeah,
and we've got farmers of a lot of diverse regions coming to us and saying, guys, what solutions can you guys offer? What can we do? And like I said, the first thing we do is we go to the farm and say, well, not always number one, but what are your needs, and what are your wants, and what is your budget? Because we will design a solution accordingly. We have to always keep their budget in mind and see how best the return on investment will basically be of the hardware they actually purchase.
Right. Now, with drones, there's a multiplicity of tasks that they can do. With that one that you were just talking about that actually monitors, your herd of cattle, what is the actual cost of a drone like that, and what's it called?
Okay, we use the same platform we use for security, the Unique. Again, her pricing will be around about 60,000 rand in SA, between 60 and 80,000 rand, and that price will go up dependent on the resolution of thermal you actually have on the drone. If you go for your medium res 320, you're looking at roughly about 150k, and if you're looking at your 640 res, you'll go up to about 300k.
Okay, but what you're saying is
what we do like to do.
Sorry, what you're saying is for that drone that actually monitors your cattle costs about 60,000 rand, which is about $4,000. That's peanuts.
Well, that's what we try and do with the farmers. And like I said to you last night, you can position that reaction drone between 5 farmers as long as you have a 5-kilometer line of sight. Right. From point of takeoff to destination. You can literally have that drone parked at another farmer every other week and have one farmer on standby flying the protection of all the other guys.
Okay, so let's just take a hypothetical situation. I've got my 60,000 rand drone, and I've got it all set up, and a couple of the cattle go out of the geo zone, or out of the area that they're supposed to be in. The drone goes up and it monitors and it sees a couple of people herding.
Firstly, your drone will. Firstly, your drone will take off because it's now received a sensor, a sensor activation.
Yeah.
The drone will fly to where the actual activation is. Then it'll hover there and give you a real-time picture. You can now have your farmer responding with a handheld on his person and drive to the scene. But what happens now is he can still manually follow the guys with the truck or whatever. If you want, tag them and follow them. What happens now is, should your batteries get flat, and this is the nice thing about the Unique as well, is the Unique when the battery gets flat it doesn't fly back to the point of takeoff. It flies back to the home base, which you've actually got in your hand. So if you are within 100 meters of where the herd was and they've now moved half a K further, the drone will come back to you where you are with a handheld, land where you are. You can put in your fresh battery and take off again.
Right.
And straight away, you can go to your last point of activation and it'll pick them up again.
Right. Now that's amazing. So what you're saying hypothetically is that you could actually follow these guys without letting them know that you are onto their case, just letting the drone, focus on them, find out where they live, and just appear at their door with the South African Police Service, and they'll be wondering how the heck that happened.
Yes, Scott, that's where we like to look at implementing the big VTOL.
Yeah.
Because of the Unique being a reaction platform and giving you a flying time of half an hour to 35 minutes, we look at your VTOL platform, which gives you in excess of 2.5 hours. And you're sitting at a height where these guys will never hear you, they'll never see you, and you've got the ability to tag and track day and night with, you're looking at 30 by optical zoom daytime that you can actually do license plate recognition of a vehicle in daytime. And you've got 16 by thermal zoom at night. So wow. You'll be sitting at 1,000 foot and you'll be looking at those guys quite pretty, and they'll have no idea.
They'll have no idea you're there. So
exactly, and that's why.
So hypothetically, the drone can follow them back to their home, and again, the police and you could arrive on the doorstep, and they'll have no idea how you did it.
That's right, yes, because you've got the benefit of tag and track on the VTOL drone.
That is amazing. I mean, can you imagine how that would go around the township? They would be staying away from that farm.
Yes.
No,
but the biggest thing is, Scott, is with the drones we do, there's a multitude of services. Look, it's from security to, like you said before, the automated harvesters and so forth. We do crop spraying drones, where the drone goes on a pre-planned path of your field. It's all pre-programmed, and you're looking at between 10 and 35 liters. You're doing between 2.5 to 8 hectares per flight.
Right.
Where you're doing misting and crop spraying. Other drones we do is we've got drones that you can do pre-burns. It's a flamethrower. You can actually go and do pre-burns rather than having to light them yourself. The drone will fly in, light the burn for you, and you can come afterwards and do a thing. We can do communications relay with them. We can do search and rescue with them. So there's as many uses like you said before that they can do everything but cook your breakfast.
Exactly. Now, we've got a few questions coming through. I'm going to actually give these questions to you as we talk. I've a whole lot of things I still want to cover with drones, but Ruben Shan Bursian has said, are they bulletproof? Shoot guns proof of rifle with silencer? And what about signal jammers? What about signal jammers? Glenda actually raised the same thing.
What we've got in South Africa, the signal jamming happens predominantly on 2.4 gigahertz, which is your normal cell frequency. That's why we've got the benefit on the unique of flying at 5.5 and 5.8 gigahertz as well. So if they jam on 2.4, we've still got comm on the higher frequencies. That's also a reason why you'll hear quite often that guys that do cell phone tower inspections, they'll go for second-hand drones, because your cell phone tower is actually fries the flight control unit, because that's running on 2.4 gigahertz, which is the same as your cell frequency. So cell jamming doesn't affect her, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we also work with technology that comes in where we do cell phone detection on a farm. Any foreign cell phone that comes in, the system tells the farmer there's a foreign cell phone, and the drone is then the unique is then equipped with a reader or a listening device per se. That'll also go listen for the foreign cell phone per se, and then again hover at height where that guy can't see him, and he can track his movements.
Okay, now I've just got Adrian Lloyd who's just sent me a message. I'll just have a quick look at that. He says, how can one set up a central control drone dispatch and see video feed on a big screen?
Okay, what we do is we're busy with a project that has just been put on the shelf for a little while, but for Tshwane, which is basically a drone umbrella.
Right.
For use of a word. Now that's linked to a centralized control room where your handheld device literally transmits what you see there to your control room. Again, secure line. No one's got privy to it, and we can also link the uniques that if we have let's call it a squadron per se, flying in the Lowveld and a squadron flying in Limpopo or Northwest. All the footage that those drones collect, we can actually bring back to a centralized control room, and from there we can do task teams, we can do operational dissemination, breakdown of ops. It's all we do literally is, if people can contact us, we'll go and see them. We look at what they want to do, the area they want to do it, because obviously, as you all know, there's a communication infrastructure that needs to be put up, your repeaters and so forth.
Right.
And then you've got to look at the bandwidth capability of your actual control room. Have you got what it takes to stream the live video the whole time, or will we be streaming on demand? But doing a full-on centralized control room, we're actually busy with that, and we will gladly share the expertise and talk to anyone who's looking at doing this in an area or for a specific use. We can do that.
Okay, now it sounds horribly expensive, but I guess where the benefit comes in is you can get a number of farmers who are in one area sharing the cost. Let's take a situation where, let's say you had 10 farmers who wanted to cooperate and use this technology. What would approximately be the cost, including setting up the the wireless towers and all this sort of stuff. What just a ballpark figure with one of the VTOLs.
What we do with a VTOL, I'd say you're looking at roughly, if you go with the entry model, you're looking at about 650K. That'll give you not an entry-level payload. Look, the payload itself actually costs more than the drone. As I said to you before, the payload is where all your technology lies, the communication,
right?
The functionality hub is the payload. The drone itself is merely a platform to carry the payload. But at about 650K, you can then have this drone patrolling. But I would say for less than that, you could have your reaction drones. You could have two based in an area where one actually flies a patrol, a pre-programmed patrol, because it'll fly autonomously. You've got the live video feed as it's flying, so you can fly from farm complex to farm complex to complex, literally. It can land at a point. You can refresh the battery then and go again. You can have two drones in the area patrolling, and should there be any activation at any time during a flight, one or both of the drones can then route directly to that point. The solution really is literally, if you've got 10 farmers in an area that want to bind to a VTOL, like we've had interest from Skoonskloof, you're looking at an area of 20 square kilometers and more, literally, for the VTOL. Then she really comes into her own
right
area per se. Smaller areas than that, Scott, I would rather go with a reaction platform, or we can look at a smaller solution than the VTOL for the client.
Right.
But we feel that a 20 square Ks is what you really need for the VTOL.
Now, the reaction drones cost from between 70,000 Rand to about 300,000 Rand. Is that right?
That's right, yes, yeah.
So, if we look at that in US dollar terms, that's about $4,000 up to about, let me see, that would be about 120,000 $12,000. So, when you consider the price of one bull, some of these bulls, I know that Ramaphosa bought a bull for R1 million the other day, during the lockdown as well. So bulls can be incredibly expensive. So when you talk about the livestock option, I see that being as a really good way of controlling a stock theft.
Mm-hmm. The stock theft, very much so, Scott. The reaction one, definitely. But at the same time, if you've got a network of cameras dotted around the landscape, let's use Mpumalanga as our go-to place for use of a word. You'll have, let's say, 100 LPR cameras dotted around the landscape that will give you a trigger of a stolen vehicle coming into the area, or a vehicle moving into an area, past the curfew time per se. That camera then acts as the trigger for the drone to go. So you're not getting a trigger event telling you the drone must go. Off she goes, and you go and find the vehicle or the person that's now moving in the area. And that, by doing that, you can start looking at becoming proactive rather than reactive.
Right.
Because we have been reactive. We've been reactive for too long with the farm attack having occurred. Then your drone is good for gathering evidence as to what happened there. But if we've got the right sensor array that we can get the drone in the air prior to the event, catch these guys on the way to the deed, we can now become proactive, because that drone will tell your ground forces exactly where they are, how many there are, and how heavily they're armed.
And if it was at night, you could use your flashing lights and the megaphone saying, "This is the South African police. Put your arms up." That would scare the living daylights out of them.
And back to your question about the drones being bulletproof, no, they're not. But I will say that it takes a really good shot to shoot the drone at the air. Because if you consider, we did the one video you showed where our drone took off from your Bad and Sons. That drone takes off and it disappears in the blink of an eye. You're flying at about 76 k's an hour.
Wow.
So it's not a very easy thing to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Cap has asked, um, how much does maintenance cost on these drones? Let's look at the VTOL and then the reaction drones. What sort of maintenance costs do you have?
Okay. When it comes to the reaction drones, what we normally do is we'll include an SLA that'll encompass a call-out fee to come and service it. There are servicing intervals that we do give you when we give you the drone. We give you a servicing manual as well. It's not a manual; it's an interval sheet. After 40 flights, you're looking at changing your blades. That's the most important thing. After 120 flights, you're looking at your motors, your brushes, and maybe your battery. Then you go into 200 flights, 500 flights, and so forth. So it's like a normal aircraft. You've got your service cycles on an aircraft. Now the drone has exactly the same. We offer that as an SLA. Again, it's a call-out fee plus however long we are on site.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff, what we would do, if you've got a remote area, it costs me nothing to train someone in the area, a farmer's son or someone, bring him on board and say, listen, guys, we'll train you as a technician. We register him as a technician with civil aviation. That is one, because being an ex-air traffic controller, I firmly believe in flight safety. And I'll get to this thing in a minute as well with regards to the ROC. But what we will then do is train someone on site, because it doesn't help me driving from Joburg to Nelspruit every other week to go and service 10 drones.
Right.
It's easier for me to empower somebody local then say, there's 10 drones in the area here. There you go. We'll equip you. We'll sort you out. All you must do is just keep our 10 clients happy.
Right. Now, let's talk about specifically the blades. How much, you're talking about replacing them every X number of trips that they do. How much do a replacement set of blades cost? And is it a good idea for people to actually buy a stock of them so they can just do it?
Replacement blades, I think, are about, I think it's something like €8 a set.
A set being
it's 8 or 12 euros a
all
set.
four?
That's for 6 blades.
Okay.
But what they normally do is they'll give you 4 of each. So there's always one spare. There's three type A blades and there's 3 type B, and you'll get 1 of each spare.
So you're talking €8 for the blades.
What
about the motor? How much would that cost to replace?
Motors, you're looking at about 47 euros a motor.
Right.
When you're looking at replacing your PC board, that's normally about 180 euros.
Right.
The only time you really look at, I should put it, doing major maintenance is when you've got someone that tries to fly into a wall. But luckily for that, you've got an anti-collision functionality on the drone, so you can aim it at the wall all you want. The drone will not fly into the wall. Okay,
let me just, I find that exciting, because I told you about that little plastic drone that I had. I kept on flying straight into the wall. Now, what you're saying is that even if you try, that drone will not crash, because it's got an anti-crash capability. Wow, that's pretty
right.
Amazing. Okay, now
you've got to consider, Scott, for the price you're paying, you don't want to have an accident.
Exactly, that's why I've raised it. Okay, so what we're saying is for replacing the blades. Now, how many flights do you do before you have to replace the blades?
Normally, we would do about 100 flights. Look, from about 40 flights, you can start looking at your blades.
Right.
But normally, after 100 flights, we will then move to basically replace them, because you get the carbon fiber blades.
Yeah.
So spinning at the rate they're spinning, you will get some damage from small insects, whatever. So, but again, whenever you do your pre-flight before you fly, you will see any damage on your blades and you replace them accordingly. So it's not a case of let's fly 40 flights and then look at the blades.
Yeah. So, but that cost is just €8 to put on the new blades.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so it's peanuts really, and then the motor. How many journeys can you do with the let's talk about the reaction drone before it's recommended that you replace the motor?
Reaction drone, you're looking at between about 250 to about 500 flights before you'll actually have to look at replacing. I'd say, look at replacing the drone.
Okay.
But on replacing the motor, what we will do is we will train someone in the area to do the minor repairs. But when it comes to major repairs like a motor or PC board or autopilot, whatever, that we will literally bring it back to our office in Pretoria, fix it over here, do the test flight here, do the compass swing here, and then take it back to you again.
And the cost of that motor is €50. So we aren't talking about an expensive exercise, really, when you think about it.
No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now let's look at some of these regulations regarding drones and usage. Now Rudy sent me a whole lot of. Rudy's a good. He's actually one of the channel heroes, and he's actually involved in the judicial side of things, and he loves looking stuff up. And he sent me a bunch of stuff, which I think you covered under that ROC license, which apparently you can then get a license to get outside these regulations. But I'm just going to read them to you, and if you can just respond to each one. Rudy says drones weighing more than 7 kilograms or 15.4 pounds may not be flown.
That's right, yes, as a private owner, but under the ROC, our payload goes to 12. It's still 12.5 kgs. We try and keep the drones to the classification of light drones.
Right.
That's the biggest thing about it. When you move beyond light drones, you start moving into a sphere where you're doing commercial operations in moving cargo and so forth.
Right. I just want to address the side chat. Cap, we're just talking about that now when it comes to regulations, so just keep on listening here. Okay, so Rudy said drones may not be flown within 50 meters or 164 feet of people or private property without permission from the property owner.
Now, that again, what we do with the ROC, you've got specific functionalities under an ROC. If you're doing an ROC for security, and we are doing a town, let's say we're doing Middelburg.
Right.
Middelburg comes to us and they say, listen, guys, we need an operation done here. We will normally then go to the police and get a mandate from them to operate under the Policing Act, where that drone is essentially doing a policing activity. It's not doing a private activity. We've got the POPI Act in SA where, yes, we do know full well you aren't allowed to fly over someone's yard without their permission. What we normally do is, let's say we're taking a suburb in Pretoria, we first do a sensitizing exercise where we go to all the homeowners and homeowners association, and we tell them we want to do a drone service in this area. These drones will be reactive policing drones when someone comes into the area to basically get to the vehicle, see what the vehicle's doing, and the occupants.
Right.
We'll then get permission from all the inhabitants, all the local residents to say, okay, guys, we're happy with this, because the drone is not flying looking down at your house. The drone is flying from a point to a target area, and there's no filming in between. You actually start capturing film when you're about 15 seconds from your target. Then your camera starts recording. So at no time are we ever interfering with private property or anything. That's always done under a strict policing mandate. And the same is with the ROC. If like you said now, there is a riot, and we are entitled under the ROC to basically overfly a crowd, we can then go and hover at the height and broadcast whatever message you want to broadcast, like you said, or you can just do your live visuals. But it all depends what your ROC limitations are, what you've applied for, and what you've been allowed to do.
Well, I'm just thinking of what happened at Standerton earlier this week, where they blocked off a road. They said they were going to block off the whole town. This is the economic freedom fighters, but they only apparently blocked off one side. Now, if you had a drone that could actually fly over those guys when they were just starting to set up their burning tires and shit like that, and you had this drone with the megaphone going and the lights going, I reckon they would have scattered. I reckon they'd have head for the hills.
I think they would have, Scott. Look, the nice thing about having the drone in the sky and in the air, and the proverbial eye in the sky, is the fact that you might have a frontline crowd that are busy singing and shouting, but you'll have a mainstay about 5 lines back, and that guy, and you can pinpoint the real troublemaker. That if you went into action to arrest someone, you'll actually know who's the real instigator, who's actually blowing on the fire.
Yeah.
And that's where your drones are basically priceless, in the sense of they give you the aerial intel that you wouldn't normally have.
Well, I have to share with you what I saw in a video. This is about a year ago. And this guy, his hooter, when you press the hooter, it made a gunshot noise. It's like, bah! Now, imagine if that drone, you could activate it sort of like firing machine gun type bullets, like pop, pop, and all it is sound. There's no actual bullets. I mean, those guys would be off the road like, in 2 seconds flat.
All right. Okay, to answer that question, and I'm sure Rudy will also tell you that armament of drones in South Africa is at this stage not allowed.
No, it wouldn't be armed. It would just make the noise. Back.
Well,
it would just make the sound.
Believe me, you can actually arm the drone, non-lethal, mind, but that's another thing we are busy with. I can't say with who and what we're doing exactly. Right. But you have got the payload capability of dropping tear gas, pepper gas, stun grenades, whatever, from your platform.
Wow!
All this amazing. Is being looked at and being discussed behind closed doors as a form of riot control.
Right. Okay. Now let's carry on with Rudy's comments. He says drone pilots must maintain a visual line of contact with their drones at all times while in flight. Well, I guess that doesn't apply again under the ROC.
What happens is, if you go as a privateer, you can fly your drone up to a point, then you'll have a forward observer that once the drone leaves your line of sight, your forward observer must still have line of sight of the drone. What happens now is when people go buy drones, and they go fly, let's say they go fly over a big open field. Now, most of your drones generally have a 1.6K and further communication ability. When you are sitting at 800 meters, Scott, honestly, you can't see the drone anymore. We've gone and measured.
Right.
And people say, well, their drone can do 5Ks. I mean, the drone can do 5Ks. Guys fly their drones way beyond line of sight. And what we do is with the ROC, you get a BV loss rating. Your pilot will essentially be in a control room per se, right, and your drone will be overhead a target. You'll always have a competent person with that drone. Look, that you'll never be able to beat. The same with your VTOL. Your VTOL's flying an autonomous mission, but what's happening at the same time is you've got a guy sitting there that can, should anything go wrong, God forbid, he can take the stick and prevent that aircraft from causing damage, because the tactical drone will do some damage, the VTOL will do a lot of damage. And what we do as well, like I said earlier, we're also involved in drone air traffic control. Now, this might be quite something new to you as well. This system actually ties in civil aviation with drone traffic. So at all times, if we're flying in an area, the drone is transponder equipped, so your civil aviation can see the drone where it's flying, operating. With the system we use, there's a flight plan for the drone flying and when it's flying and what kind of flight it's doing, be it search and rescue or normal patrolling. You've got a drone ATC per se in a control room, and you've also got your civil aviation ATC, both aware of each other and aware of each other's aircraft. So we look at safeguarding civil aviation and drone aviation all at the same time, and making sure that we don't have the two aircraft sharing the same airspace at any time.
Right. Okay. Now, a couple more just one last one from Rudy. He says, drones may not be flown 10 kilometers or 6 miles or closer to any airport without special permission from the South African Civil Aviation Authority.
That is what we do with the ROC, Scott. We actually liaise with the local tower, and we get permission from the local ATZ to fly up to the fence line. But That's all done with their permission. and it's done. Look, again, it's done with restrictions, but at the same, because we can't be above a certain height, which we will never be. Again, it comes in with your drone air traffic control, where we respect their space, they respect our operations.
Right.
Because ultimately, what we're doing is we're therefore it'll always be either anti-poaching or it'll be farm security.
I was about to say this would be a fantastic device for people who've got rhino on their game farms. You know, they could actually monitor for any of these gangs that go out there and poach the rhino.
Now, the same kind of solution that I mentioned with the cattle theft,
yes,
Scott, you can also implement with the rhinos. That if they are lying down for too long, it sends you a trigger. If they are running too fast, there's a trigger. If there's any panic on the animal, that drone will fly to that point and go and say, "Listen, guys, you're not supposed to be here." But yeah, normally I would rather scare the living daylights out of the guys with the poaching, because they inflict the damage to the animal a lot quicker than your cattle or your stock thieves would do.
This is why I said if you had the sound of bullets, just the sound coming out of that drone, you know, that those guys would head for the hills.
For sure.
Okay, now, I think that's covered all the questions that Rudy raised. Okay, Kurs Boss has asked, what is the average operating height of a drone?
All right, on the unique, normally we'll take her up to about. We normally fly her at about 80 meters to 100 meters, because that keeps us clear of your power lines and so forth. And you're above tree level, and she's running pretty quiet from about 40 meters above ground level. At flight, you can't hear her, so
right.
That's a nice thing. You've got the ability you've got the luxury of flying with your lights on and off. So if you are flying a night op, you've got you got privy to where your drone is on your map, so you can see exactly where you are at all times, and you can see the image from the camera. But your perpetrators can't see the drone in the sky because she's flying blind. So there's no real visibility of the drone above you. That's another nice little thing about it. She goes into stealth mode almost.
Wow. Now, when we spoke about this earlier today, I think I might have this wrong, but I think you said that especially with the VTOL, it does this automated circuit, which is like GPS set. So it just does the same circuit round and around and around, and it might be a 20-kilometer area. But if it picks up at night through the thermo-seeking humans, or let's say a car, it'll actually stop and monitor that spot and give the GPS back to the control room. Is that correct?
That's right, yes, Scott. It'll basically tag and track the vehicle or the person. What we will do is, in the setup of the camera, normally we will do a pattern analytic setup where you teach the camera to look for a human, and you teach the camera to look for a vehicle. So whichever vehicle it finds in the area, or whichever human, the camera will not give you a false alarm for livestock or for game in the area, but when it picks up the signature of a person walking, it'll trigger that. It'll tag and track the person and send you his real-time location, so you can get your anti-poaching units or your farm patrols out to the point of incursion. Right.
Now, Sue Vickerman has said, what if the drones could be equipped to shoot blanks? Well, I think just having the sound of a bullet going off would do the job. You don't have any blanks in there. You just have the sound. So you see something happening, you just go, say, ah! I'll be out of there.
Scott, it's quite humorous because that a lady is asking the question, because we have actually had it where we do drone demos, and you have an old lady come to you and say, Lionel, can I put my shotgun on this drone? And it's not from the men, it comes from the ladies. So yes, we can. I will say it, yes, categorically we can, but No, we can't.
Right, now I've got a lot of questions coming through, so I'm just going to throw these at you, and then we'll get back to our discussion. Keith Alderson has asked, if a military jammer is used, can you ask if the drone can default to a mission, e.g. fly to a location, hover till battery low, then return to base?
We can do that. Look, the drone actually gives us a flat battery warning. So what we can do is we can pre-program a mission on the drone to go and do its thing. During this time, she'll do the circuit, fly the flight. But as soon as she gets a low battery warning, she will return home. You'll get an audible warning on your controller. She'll first give you a warning, battery's going to 40% now, and then as soon as you get to 38% or 35%, the drone will physically come back to you.
Right.
To wherever you are. And the other advantage of using the hexacopter, I forgot to say it earlier as well, is that if you lose one of your 6 blades, she's still operational with 5.
Right.
So you aren't hampered by losing a blade, and your stability in high wind is also a lot better with
we're just about to get to that question. Okay, I'll just go through
than with the quad rotor.
Yeah, Monkey Pushing Wood. Now you got to love that username. That's his name, Monkey Pushing Wood. He said, are the drones storing photos, videos in a database? If so, have you run into any problems with privacy laws or data protection laws?
No, that is why what I said before. We've got no external data leakage. This is purely from the drone to the controller.
Right. So
it's close communications.
And under the ROC, they can do that.
They can do that, yes. And what we do is we basically get that encrypted picture from the controller to your control room there.
Right. Okay. And that can be used in evidence in a court, of course. Now, Cap Electronics.
That can, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Cap Electronics has said, how do the drones react to lightning strikes, bird strikes, turbulence, and strong winds?
We have got a very high wind capability with the VTOL. The VTOL is fully weatherproof. The unique H520, what we do with her is we weatherproof her to the extent of getting her waterproof. Again, especially with places where we were doing demonstrations in the low veld. It rains there almost all the time.
Right.
And places like Dullstrom as well. So the first thing there is to waterproof the aircraft so that you can operate in rain and out of rain. Lightning strike, it'll work the same as an aircraft, but because you've got small electronics, you will lose an aircraft with a lightning strike, for one. On the reaction drone, more likely than on the VTOL, because the VTOL carries it's almost a light aircraft avionics and light aircraft capability.
Sounds amazing. Now, Tough Gemini has asked, how does one protect a drone from hijacking?
Well, like I said, luckily with a unique, you've got a close communication loop, so there's no external. And the only way they can try and drop the drone is by jamming her, and jamming at 2.4 doesn't work.
Right, because you can go up to 5.
Because we're running on alternate frequencies.
Right. Okay, now there's one last question, then we'll get back to our questions. And Jakes has asked, can you program the drone that he can do the route every day? I guess what he's saying is an automated program.
You can do that, yes. You can do that with either of the drones, the reaction drone. If your route will not take longer than half an hour, you can do it with her. And if you've got a big area, let's say we've got a request now from a unnameable game reserve, where you're looking at a 74-kilometer fence line, that'll be the VTOL's work. She'll go on a patrol the fence line and come back.
Right.
You can do it once a day. You can do it as often as you like, as long as you've got your fresh batteries in her. That's your choice. You can fly ad hoc. You can fly routine. You can fly various patterns on both of the drones, where you program it to fly anti-clockwise one day, clockwise other day, starting at the middle point. it's all up to you, because essentially you're programming a survey route into the drone's programming, and it's flying a survey.
It's absolutely amazing. I think it's fantastic. Now, let's get back to specifically the cost side. We've talked about the payload, which is where you have different elements added, which actually make up the final product that is sold or bought by the farmers or a conglomerate of farmers. And the VTOL is obviously the larger one and the more expensive one, and we're talking out between 600,000 and 800,000 rand for that particular drone. You mentioned something about the payload costing an equivalent amount. Can you go into some specifics about that in setting up something for, let's say, 10 farmers who want to do this as a group?
What we'll do is we'll go to a farm complex and say, okay, if they want the VTOL to lay it down, they can literally form a cooperative, and if they want to finance the drone, finance it through one corporate body, or they can literally all pay the drone off together, chipping into the price per se, and then that's it. Normally with the VTOL we will locate at a more permanent base than with the reaction drone, because the VTOL covers a much wider area.
Right. And
the space she takes quite a bit of space, because you're looking at a 3.5 to 4.5 meter wingspan.
Wow.
So you can judge for yourself. Yeah, you're looking at you're looking at an aircraft, Scott.
Wow.
1.8 meter body. Yeah. And then you've got the associated stuff going with it, because she can disassemble.
Yeah.
But the ideal is to keep her assembled ready. Well, keep her mission ready, so that when she needs to go, she can go.
I guess the thing when it comes to cost, the best thing for them to do is to contact you, and go through what their requirements are, and then you can cover that with them, because it's a moving target, isn't it? And Mike Simpson said the farm invaders are using drones to spy on farms as well. Now, is there any way that these drones will pick up other drones in the area?
The drone itself will not, Scott. What we do is we do anti-drone measures as well. That also tie in with the drone use. We've been approached for this as well as part of one of our projects, where you use an anti-drone system, where the drone system tells you that there's a foreign drone in the area. The downside, and I think Rudy might also know about the downside of things like this, is with ICASA, you aren't allowed to jam the drone. You aren't allowed to capture the drone. You aren't allowed to shoot the drone down. But what we are allowed to do with the anti-drone system is basically the system tells you where the pilot is sitting. So we're controlling the drone. So when you're working with a solution, let's say you're working with a national key point,
right? And
you've got drones overflying your key point whenever they like, taking little photographs. You deploy the system there. The system then tells you where the pilot is sitting, so you can actually go to the perpetrator's house, you can arrest him and confiscate his drone. Now, we are aware that guys are using drones to basically scout farms, gather evidence. Look, the enemy is always one step ahead of us, that we will say, but that's where it comes in again, where we say when they're there, our drone will also be in the air, because we would have something would have picked them up. And we'll be spying on them as hard as they're spying on us, and hopefully we can capture them before they can do the deed.
And if they've got a small drone, they would literally have to be within about a kilometer of where that drone is flying, wouldn't they? So they'd be easy to catch.
That is right. Yes. That's right. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I hope that covers that question. And Monkey Pushing Wood said, have you thought about a dye pack on drones to paint any target to make it easier for cops to find him?
What we can do, Scott, is, look, we aren't allowed to fire anything at a person from a drone at this stage. We're obviously working on that. Where we would have a dye pack normally is you would have a dye pack on an item. Let's say a guy breaks into your shed.
Right.
You'd have something there to basically spray him. Then we can have the thermal can pick up certain things. It all depends on the actual dye mixture. We can do artificial DNA, which is something I can talk to you until the cows come home with one of our friends that does artificial DNA. The guy can wash himself for 6 months, and you will still see the stuff on his hands.
Wow. Okay, now, well, I guess that's kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? How can you make a scalable solution for farmers? I mean, what is the best way of doing that? If you've got a group of farmers who say, hey, come out and see what we want done. And let's go beyond that. What about a community like Dahlstrom, where they've had problems? What do you actually do? What's the process? How do they actually get this set up?
We did a demonstration in Dahlstrom, Scott, toward the end of our demonstrations we were doing in the Lowveld. Very good turnout there again. When we were deemed to go back, to go fly again, we couldn't go back. We've spoken to the guys there. They were actually the local farmers union invited us to come and address them the one day on this issue of what the costing would be, what the longevity of a project like this would be, what the technology rollout would be with regards to this, at what stage does your drone become obsolete, when is the new technology about, what would the return on investment be for them as a community on these drones. And again, a week before we could actually go and see the local farmers union and the local residents association, the wonderful COVID came along.
Yeah.
And that put a stop to all of that. Well, a temporary stop, Scott. Look, everything can be revisited now again. Most of these farmers unions actually will probably have new meetings happening once the COVID is gone. But that said, they were ready for us and we were ready for them. But yeah,
right.
The big evil hit us. But what we will do, argument's sake, is on a scalable side, is if we have 5 farmers, go to the guys and say, guys, you're looking at a price of, let's say, 120K to give you a decent, 150K to give you a decent 320 res thermal.
Right.
If you go split the cost among the 5 of you, you're looking at about 30K a pop. Whereas most of your farmers are combination farmers. Some of them will have sugarcane and cattle. Some of them will have cattle and maize. Some of them will have cattle and game. There's always a combination of, you'll have your fruit farmers that might still have something else as well. And that said, we then take the package and go look at what can we bring in with a drone, excuse me, to make the whole thing more affordable and make it realistic to them. Number one, have they got the physical budget? There's one question we always ask the guys: what are you looking to spend on a solution? I can't give you a 100K solution at 10K. So obviously we'll ask them, what is your realistic budget? What are your needs and what are your wants?
Right.
Because the wants always exceed the need. So what are your needs, and let's work with your needs. If we can place one drone in a 5 kilometer radius of a house, which basically extends to another 5 once you place the drone there. But if we can have one drone in an area that can service 5 households, or maybe even 10 within your 5K radius, or maybe 20. So your one drone starts doing the work that 2, 3, or 4 would do. So start with a 1. Once that first one starts proving herself, you then move to a second one or a third one. Or you look at your wider area coverage and then go for the VTOL.
Right.
But all this is done in phases. No one's got the money to come to us now, Scott, and go, you know what, Lionel, there's a $750,000. I want my VTOL next week flying. There's very few farmers with this kind of money, and that's why I'm not saying they all make no disrespect. Someone of them might be cursing me now on the live stream, but we know that our farmers have been cut to the bone financially with what's happening economically and what's happening with all the farm murders. And predominantly we look at getting them the best, most affordable solution, making it work for them. Because the biggest thing is getting the farmer to keep on farming. Let us worry about safeguarding you.
Well, I think Lionel, there's a ray of light in the distance, because what I hear from the farmers in South Africa is that they're getting very good prices for their crops this year, especially sunseed oil. You know, the sunflower seed oil. Apparently, they're getting great prices this year, so I think they will have a bit of disposable income. Now, Michaela has asked, what is the absolute furthest a drone can fly? I guess she's talking about a VTOL. And a VTOL stands for vertical takeoff and landing. So even though it's got wings, it takes off vertically, so you don't have to have a runway.
We can push a VTOL to 200 kilometers.
Wow.
Line of sight. Yeah, that works through an array of repeaters again, and then we can also push her via satellite. What I will say is we work with various institutions. We work with, shall I say, Lockheed Martin is one of our technology partners.
Right.
You might know Lockheed Martin with military aviation, a lot of it, with regards to drone control, remote, and then we also work with various hardware component manufacturers globally, with regards to ground control stations, and then your flight control units and your relay equipment. But we can push her to 200 km. We can literally fly her. We can do a coastal patrol with a VTOL, fly her from point A to point B. She takes off the one, she lands at the next one, takes off there, flies to the next one again. So we can do a full South African coastline patrol with a VTOL.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Now, there's something I just wanted to say we got about 400 people watching. Please, guys, remember to subscribe to the Loving Life channel. We have great live streams most nights at 8 p.m. Now, getting back to you, Lionel, how do people contact you? Because we've been talking about this incredible technology and how people should be speaking to you. So what's the easiest way? Have you got like a web page, or have you got a Facebook page? What's the best way to contact you?
We took down our Facebook page down to some malicious people contacting us for the wrong reasons, I will say.
Yeah.
People can contact me on my email address, Scott. It's Lionel, Lionel.
Yeah.
At JATS Group. That's JATSS Group.
Yeah.
.co.za.
Let me just put that in the side
myself
chat.
Or Jeannie will get back.
Right.
Yeah. And then myself or Jeannie will get back to you at any time.
Yeah, so it's Lionel, Lionel, at jatsgroup.co.za, and JATS Group is spelled JATSSGROUP. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Let me just put that in the side chat. Okay, so if you want to contact Lionel, perhaps just set up a meeting to talk to him. Okay, contact Lionel. Okay, there's the email address. Okay, guys, that's Lionel's email address. Please just send him an email if you want to know more about this. Okay, let's continue. What other associated technology do you have available with the products that you sell?
Okay, like I briefly mentioned, we have the cell phone detection devices.
Yeah.
That'll pick up an incursion from a foreign cell phone into the area. That system will then pick up the IMEI number of that phone, trigger the farmer and tell him, listen, this guy's within 2 km or 5 km of your house. That's his bearing. He can then alert the guys and say, listen, this is where the guy is. And at the same time, you can fit a listening device to the drone and actually fly to where this guy is, and you can monitor him with a thermal and know exactly what he's doing. Because what we have found, a lot of the times these guys that do the farm attacks, they actually do a pre-recce of the area, for use of a word, Scott.
Exactly, yeah.
And they are that familiar with exactly what's happening. So with this kind of technology, you'll know he's in your area, and you can catch him before he can give all the intel out. Other technology we use, like I said before as well, is your LPR cameras dotted across your rural areas with your farm road access points. Those cameras also, they send alerts through to your control room and to your drone control station. It triggers your drone. we can do panic buttons. If you've got a network of panic buttons and those panic buttons are GPS located, we can program those GPS points onto the system. That should a person press their panic button and it comes up there, the drone will fly to that point. So should the farmer know that there's someone coming at his farm and he pushes the panic button, you've got a reaction drone running at 76 k's an hour coming at you. That can have a loud hailer going or lights flashing, and you can have your VTOL rushing at you at about 140 k's an hour.
Well, I just want
so
to.
We can literally.
I just want to put a hypothetical situation here, and you raised a very important point. You said that these guys who go and do the farm attacks, they don't do it just by randomly going to a farmhouse. They do a lot of preparation, 90% of the time. So by having a reaction drone or a VTOL, and the reaction drone is 60 or 70,000 rand, so it's a minimal cost. You could actually have the reaction drone catching the guy on the ground while he's still preparing his attack, and once he realizes that he's been monitored, he's going to go and find a softer target, isn't he?
That's it, yes, and that is how we can actually become proactive in this fight. That's our personal feeling, Scott, because if we catch them in the planning phase or we catch them on the way to the actual deed, that's where we can start making a difference.
Well, I think the guys who do the planning, if they knew that they were being observed by a drone, they would, give up and find, as I say, a softer target, because they know that their cover's been blown. Now, what other associations are you working with?
Currently, we are working with the TLE, the Transvaal Landbouunie. We've been discussing drones with the head of the security wing, as well as the new president. We've spoken to him as well quite a few times. Again, Scott, if it weren't for COVID, there'd been quite a few uniques flying around the landscape.
Yeah,
we were
sure.
stopped because we had all the high-level meetings, and it was a case of now we need to go to the smaller union offices and go see the guys in Rustenburg, in the Northwest, go to Potch, go to the Free State, go everywhere. We had everything planned, and we were stopped in our heels.
Well,
but we also work with King Price.
Hopefully this live stream will kick off your marketing again. Now,
I'm sure it will. And then with King Price on the stock theft solution, because they do stock theft insurance.
Right.
And the whole idea was basically to go to market and say, guys, if you embrace the technology solution, you can look at a reduction in your premiums.
A dramatic
and this
reduction.
Thing was pretty widely marketed. But I don't know. I think this COVID thing came at a time that maybe it should have come. But it's getting to a point now where we can get back out there and do what we want to do. And
sure.
You know our passion. You've spoken to Jeannie enough times. You've spoken to all of us. You know what our passion is in this country to safeguard our farmers.
Yes, safeguard the farmers.
So we would stop in our tracks, but we'll pick it up again.
Herman's raised a really interesting question. He says, can game farmers dart game with a drone?
Yes, you can. Again, it comes under the weaponizing of the drone. What we can do is we can do that with a mandate, and you actually fly as a mandated pilot for them.
Well, there you go.
We can also open channels for them to basically go.
That is so.
Apply for it. We've actually got friends in Lowveld that built a darting drone.
Wow. So what you're saying is that the dangers that are associated with darting animals is taken away, because the drone will be hovering above them and just dart them from above.
That's a nice thing, Scott, and you can also do game counts day and night.
Wow.
Because you're sitting with the thermal. Because you're sitting with a thermal capability, you can do a nighttime count, or you can do a daytime count. You haven't got the same noise emanating from the drone as you have from a chopper.
Yeah.
The total cost of the drone will probably be the cost of a chopper for half a day, and you can operate your drone at your own leisure per se, and you aren't restricted with weather or the pilot availability or all the additives that come with a chopper game count. It's your drone. You can do literally whatever you want when you want.
Right. Now, organizations like TLUSA, they've got, I think, I think AgriSA has got loans that they give out for different things. If a group of farmers didn't have the cash, surely they could go to one of these organizations and say, we want to buy this drone security system and get a loan for it. That would probably be the easiest way to do it.
What we've done, Scott, is we have got a finance house on board where we can, if they want to finance a drone as a lease, we are able to facilitate that.
Wow.
Like I said, they will come together then as a co-op,
so
and
they
the
don't
co-op
have
will
to have
then
that
apply for
cash.
financing based. No.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I see a tremendous amount of purpose for this, especially the reaction drone for the smaller farmers when it comes to livestock and stuff like that. But obviously the bigger farmers, the VTOL sounds, and the game parks for the VTOL sounds absolutely fantastic. Now, before COVID-19 hit us, how did your demonstrations that you did with farmers and other groups go?
Scott, we did demonstrations in Komatipoort, Malalaan, Nelspruit. We did quite a few for the security companies. We were meant to go back to do a purchase flight for one of the security companies in Malalaan.
Right.
It was Malalaan, hey? I think so, yeah. And we were supposed to go back to them, and we were stopped in our blocks. We did a demonstration at Ubad and Sons. We did the whole route from Butplaas to Standerton. We did that whole route. We had a lot of cattle farmers come to us there. Cattle farmers that came from further afield actually drove up for the day and asked us to please let them know as soon as we were in their area to do a demo. What they came and asked us pricing models. They did everything. And like I say, on what we were supposed to go back to go and do the purchasing flights. Yeah. We couldn't go. So, but again, Scott, that's all starting now again. So,
yeah,
very soon you'll see quite a few of them dotted around the landscape doing the utmost.
So really, the point is that if you are interested in looking at a drone as a security option, they should be getting onto your case straight away, because you're going to have a queue of people who are wanting this technology in the next few weeks when you're able to start traveling around again. And I've just dropped your email address again into the side chat. Okay, so now tell us about the successes achieved and achievable by using drones for safety in our rural areas. Do you have any case studies like that where drones have been
used? We've had is what we've had from numerous sources where we have had farm attacks or land invasions or predominantly that. We've had guys with private drones physically go and fly whenever we have a situation. Some of the farm attacks we've had where the suspects obviously fleeing. The first thing that comes along is guys ask for K9 units and ask for any drones in the area. So private drone owners will then go and fly to help the police, to help the local CPF, to help the local farm watch.
Right.
And they've actually caught guys by using the drones. That's the nice thing. So the technology it's not a newbie. It's there, but we just need everyone to grasp the concept that a drone is not the enemy. It's there to basically help you. And if people understand the exact use of the drone, like hopefully they will do after this stream, then it opens up a massive what shall we call it? It'll be a mind shift almost that this kind of technology is not your enemy.
Right. Well, I just think I think it's fantastic, and it's got so many applications. And I think that livestock application, where if the cattle go out of a certain area, it sends an alert to the drone, and the drone goes and investigates, and you can see from the scene what's happening. I think those sort of applications are absolutely amazing.
Well, Scott, I mean, if you think that you're pretty much aware of all the cash in transit we have in South Africa, and most of them don't. Some of them happen within the city limits, but most of them happen outside the city limits. So if you've got a rapid response drone capability where as soon as your driver has a means of alerting someone somewhere saying, listen guys, I'm being tailed.
Yeah.
You get an aircraft in the air, that aircraft will be in the vicinity. And I mean, again, you're sitting at a height, you're moving at a nominal speed, and when you get within range, you've got the zooming ability of your payload. So straight away, you can see what's actually happening on the scene. And based on your footage, now you know there's a white BMW, there's a red this and the rest. You can start tasking your responses. Because you're on the road between Pretoria and Bella Bella. You can get the guys from Bella Bella to close the road from that side and move this way, and get the guys from Pretoria to move towards Bella Bella. So that if, heaven forbid, the cash and transit robbery did actually happen, you've now got a way of catching these guys there more or less on the spot.
Well, you can follow their vehicles.
And if you've got the ability to, to, while you're on the route there, to basically have a loud hailer going mental.
Yeah.
The first thing these guys are going to think is, well, hold on a minute, but how did the cops know we were doing this cash and transit heist?
And the other thing is, you could have the drone following the escape vehicles, so that the police would know exactly where to catch them.
That's the other benefit, Scott. You can take and track that vehicle, and you can follow him. And well, I said to you this before. All of us want to catch these farm attackers and everyone, right?
Yeah.
But we'd also like to follow them back to where they came from, because we'd love to see who's tasking these guys, who's training these guys, who's equipping them, who's telling them where to go and hit who.
Yeah.
Because once we can chop the head of the snake, that snake's gone.
Yep, I totally get it. Now, guys, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's discussion about drones. I think it's been a really big eye-opener to me. I mean, the applications for these drones, they're just unlimited, aren't they, Lionel?
Very, very much so. And anybody's welcome to give us a call. Give us your requirement. Like I say, from crop spraying to search and rescue, the uses don't stop. Honestly, that they do not stop.
Well, look, what I'll do is I'll put your email address below this video in the description, so that people don't have to search the side chat for it. They can just go below the video and they can just send you an email and get further information from you. Is there any associated website that they can go and have a look at which might have information about the unique drone?
Scott, I will send you information that you can just attach there.
Yeah.
I will send you a link. I haven't got a link with me now.
That's okay. You can send it to me later. That's fine.
I'll have to send it to you, Scott.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you, yeah, because there are various links.
Yeah.
I can send to you. Maybe people can actually go and they can look at videos especially. But if people want to look at the drone itself, they can go onto YouTube and they can go onto the unique H520. It's YUNEEC H520. And they can look at the videos for that. They'll see that when it was launched in 2017 at Las Vegas, they had a specific policing demonstration. And again, when they look at the reviews and everything about it, they'll also pick up that the US approach to the H520 is the fact that it was built for a police reaction vehicle or platform, essentially.
Right. Now you're the agent for the unique products. Are you just South Africa, or are you right across Southern Africa?
No, we are for Southern Africa.
So Zambia, Zimbabwe,
Sub-Saharan Africa, basically.
Namibia, Mozambique, they could
That's
all...
right.
Okay.
That's right.
So it's not just South Africa. All right.
No.
I just want to thank all the moderators for doing a fantastic job again tonight, guys. And I hope everybody watching has found the discussion interesting and informative. I certainly have. I didn't realize how flexible drones were. And I just want to go back to our guest, Lionel. Lionel, is there something you'd like to say to people in closing this live stream tonight? Or is there something I haven't covered that you'd like to cover?
I'd just like to say to people that there's a very big misconception, and I think Rudy also will know about it. Look, I'm referring back to him because, like you say, he does the research. People must know one thing, that when you own a drone on the farm, you do not need to be a licensed pilot. The only time that you need to be a licensed pilot is when you are going to charge money for your services of the drone. So as long as you're flying between you and your 5 buddies, safeguarding your farms, doing it for your safety and your neighbor's safety, no license is required. But as soon as you charge your neighbor $100 a week to overfly his house, that is when you need to have a license, because you're now becoming a commercial entity. So people must please do not think that I can't buy a drone from my farm because I must go for a license. No. Just don't charge your neighbor the money to protect him, and you're fine. That's the biggest misconception at this stage, because people are misinformed with regards to the licensing of the pilots. That's a big, big, big misunderstanding.
And unlike my little cheap plastic drone that I got, a little kid's drone I got several years ago, which I couldn't get away from the wall, these drones are just so easy to fly because you just set up GPS settings, and obviously you would help the farmers in how to do all that.
That's it, yeah. All that we'll do, we will essentially go to a farmer, we will install the air traffic control app on his phone, so that when he's going to fly, he logs a flight plan, so that the local tower knows that the farmers are flying. And then from there, it's Bob's your uncle. Honestly, Bob's your uncle. Technology is here to help. And what we did find is that a lot of the young farmers are very, very keen on grasping technology. They are very keen. And this is the next level to them, because a lot of them actually work with the automated harvesters and everything else. They are fully aware of the automation of the drones, and the market is ready there for us. But the market is not probably doing this. It sounds stupid. A life saved is worth more than $1 million in the bank right now, Scott.
Yeah, well, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for watching tonight's live stream. Please do contact Lionel. I'll just drop his email address once more into the side chat, because I know some people get distracted. There it is. Send him an email, and let's see what happens. And Lionel, just to you, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Thank you very much, Scott, and thank you for your time, and thank you to the viewers.
You're very, very welcome. All right, guys, I'm going to shut down the live stream now, but I will keep the side chat open for a few minutes so that you can still chat away on the side. Please do get in touch with Lionel if you're looking or considering a drone, whether it be for a community, whether it be for a farm, a rural area, whatever it might be, even if it's something to do with the government department. Just contact Lionel. You've got his email address.